to give you an example of where network segmentation has helped a customer of ours, this wasn't a customer before the attack. It's, of course, we got called in by an insurance company, but they had network segmentation across their network, albeit it wasn't perfect. It really wasn't, but they had about 5 different sites around the world, that were all obviously segmented just due to geolocation, had to be, and then they were firewalled. 2 of the segments had Active Directory domain controllers, and the other 3 did not, out of the 5. And then inside of each location, they had segmented out a few different networks. There's a manufacturing company, so they had kind of their network that was on the floor, manufacturing floor. They had an office network that was both Wi-Fi and their just regular computers. And then they had about 3 or 4 different segments inside of their data center. So, not heavy segmentation, nothing crazy, but what that did for them was the attack was really only deployed on about 3 of the different segments. The attacker had come in through a compromised email server. It was a Linux-based email server. If any of you guys are familiar with Zimbra, it was a Zimbra server, and they had a 0-day, and that 0-day got exploited, and that was the initial entry into that network, was through this Zimbra server. But because they got in on that server network, they started to look around. They never even deployed any kind of ransomware or anything really on most of the segments. But they did take down the core server segment, and unfortunately that had Active Directory sitting in it as well. But what it did not touch was their ERP system. So their ERP, which was very, very critical to them operating and running, stayed completely functional. It also did not affect their manufacturing floor, because the manufacturing floor had been segmented off and firewalled. But it did impact their business operations, obviously, because all of their basically all of their servers, that dealt with everything else, files, all of their office applications. Active Directory was locked up, so it still did obviously have a pretty good effect on the business. But when you look at the major parts and functions of the business, and things that would have been really, really difficult to get back in a reasonable amount of time, those were segmented off and ultimately did not get attacked.